The Korthan scout ship floated in the dark space above the blue planet humans called Earth. Commander Vakar stood at the front window, his 4 eyes narrowing as he studied the quiet world below. He knew what the High Council expected of him: enter human territory, collect information, and prove that humans were nothing but weak, loud creatures who bragged too much. The Korthan Empire had heard stories that humans were simple and soft. But Vakar did not feel sure. He felt something cold in his chest, something he did not want to name. The ship glided lower. Clouds brushed the hull, and the crew grew silent. They all felt the same thing: the strange tension humans caused just by existing. It was said humans had a strange effect on other species. They made the air feel heavy. They made instincts scream for no clear reason. But the orders were clear. No second guessing. No fear. "Commander," said First Officer Rielna. "We are entering human territory. No signs of defense systems yet. Shall we continue?" "Yes," Vakar said. "Keep us quiet. Humans may be simple, but they are unpredictable." The ship dipped below the clouds, and human land appeared: dark mountains, deep forests, scattered lights. It looked peaceful. Too peaceful. The crew relaxed a little. A mistake. On the screens, the sensors picked up a small human building deep in the forest. Warm lights glowed inside. A few metal vehicles were parked outside. Nothing looked dangerous. Nothing looked like a military base. "This is perfect," Rielna said. "We can land near it and observe them. Their technology is old. They will never detect us." But Vakar still felt that cold weight inside him. Stay alert. Human danger rarely looks like danger at first. The ship landed quietly among the trees. The back door opened with a soft hiss, and a mix of warm earth and cold night washed into the ship. Vakar stepped out, boots sinking into soft dirt. The other scouts followed. The human building was not far. Wooden walls, glass windows, a soft glow coming from inside. A human moved around in one of the rooms. The scouts watched from the trees. The human looked calm, unaware that an alien team was studying him only a few meters away. "See?" Rielna whispered. "Nothing to fear. This mission will be easy." Another mistake. A sound echoed through the forest, a sharp click, soft but clear. The scouts froze. Vakar scanned the trees with his 4 eyes. Then he saw it. A metal device placed at the base of a tree, small and almost invisible. A simple box with a blinking red light. A human trap. Vakar lifted a hand. "Everyone stand still." A second click answered him. Then a human voice came from behind them, calm and steady. "I wouldn't move another inch." The scouts turned slowly. A human stood there, pointing a weapon at them. The weapon was not large, but it hummed with dangerous energy. His face was calm. Too calm. His eyes were sharp and cold. "Humans are not supposed to be here," Rielna whispered. The man raised an eyebrow. "Funny. I was about to say the same thing about you." The scouts backed up a step, but Vakar lifted a hand to stop them. He studied the human, trying to understand how he approached them without being detected. How his trap caught them so easily. How he stood there without fear, facing 5 armed aliens. "We do not wish to harm you," Vakar said. "We are on a peaceful mission." The man did not lower his weapon. "Then you already made your first mistake," he said. "Humans don't trust strangers sneaking around at night." Rielna hissed back, "Lower your weapon. You do not know who we are." The man's voice stayed calm. "Oh, I know enough." Another click sounded, and more humans stepped out of the shadows. 3 of them. All armed. All calm. The Korthan's heart sank. None of them had sensed the others approaching. Humans moved quietly. Too quietly. That unnatural heaviness in the air grew stronger. Vakar tried again. "We only came to observe. We mean no harm. We..." "Stop," the first human said. "Let me explain something, alien. Humans have a rule. A simple one." He took 1 step forward, and his eyes hardened. "You get 1 warning. Only 1. And you just used it." The night grew colder. The forest seemed to hold its breath. Rielna whispered, "Commander. We should retreat." But before Vakar could answer, the human's weapon hummed louder. The air around it shimmered. "Second chances," the human said softly, "are for friends. You're trespassing, armed, and hiding. So no second warning." The scouts realized too late what they had walked into. Humans were not weak. Not simple. Not soft. They sensed danger like predators. They set traps. They moved silently. They watched everything. And they did not give second warnings. Vakar felt the truth hit him like a blow. They had come to study humans. But instead, Humans had already studied them. And the night was only getting started. The humans did not fire, not yet. They only watched the Korthan scouts with cold, sharp eyes. Their weapons stayed raised, steady as stone. Commander Vakar felt every instinct inside him scream to step back, to escape, to run. But he forced himself to stay still. Showing fear in front of humans felt like inviting them to strike. The first human, the one who seemed to be in charge, walked closer. His boots made almost no sound on the forest floor. His face stayed calm. His voice stayed level. Everything about him said he was not afraid. That alone frightened the Korthans more than any weapon. "Why are you here?" the man asked. Vakar swallowed. "We came to observe. Our mission was to collect information. Nothing more." The man's eyes narrowed. "Observation without permission is spying." Rilna hissed quietly, "Humans twist words. Be careful." But the man heard her. "No, humans don't twist words. You came into our land without asking. That makes you a threat." Vakar felt the tension rising again. "We do not want conflict. Our empire believes humans are simple. We thought you would not." "Stop," the man said, cutting him off. "If you came here thinking we are simple, then your empire has made a deadly mistake." Behind the man, one of the other humans spoke softly, but the Korthan's translator still caught the words. "They aren't moving right. They're scared. That makes this dangerous." The leader nodded slightly. "Yeah. Scared things do stupid things." The way he spoke unsettled Vakar. This human was calm, but he understood danger on an instinctive level. He did not treat aliens like wonders of the galaxy. He treated them like intruders. Predators. Or prey. Vakar lifted his hand slowly. "If we return to our ship, we can leave this place and never return." "No," the man said. "You don't get to decide that." His eyes flicked to the trees. "Your ship is surrounded." The Korthans froze. They had left 10 guards with the ship, armed and alert. But if more humans were waiting there, if humans had moved around them without being heard, then the situation was far worse than Vakar thought. "How did you find our ship?" Vakar whispered. The man shrugged. "You landed on our soil. We watch our soil." Rilna clenched her jaw. "This planet belongs to no one." The human's eyes snapped to her. "It belongs to us." The air grew cold again. Vakar felt the moment slipping away from him. Everything he tried to say made the humans more cautious, more ready to strike. He needed a new plan. Something that would keep his crew alive. "Then tell us what you want," Vakar said. "We will listen." The man studied him for a long moment. The forest wind rustled the leaves. The humans did not move. The aliens did not breathe. Finally, the human said, "You came here thinking humans were weak. So we need to correct your assumptions before you leave." Rilna bristled. "You cannot threaten the Korthan Empire." The man smiled without warmth. "Lady, I'm not threatening your empire. I'm threatening you. There's a difference." Rilna stepped back. The man's tone was not loud, not angry. But it carried a finality she had never heard before. He meant every word. Vakar stepped between them. "We do not seek war." "That's good," the man replied. "Neither do we. But we protect our home. And we do not give second warnings." He gestured toward the building in the distance, the small human structure with lights inside. "You're coming with us." Vakar stiffened. "Why?" "So you can witness something." The other humans stepped forward, surrounding the Korthans. Not touching them, but making escape impossible. They moved in a slow, practiced formation, the kind soldiers used. Except none of them were wearing uniforms. No armor. No marks of rank. They moved like warriors. But looked like ordinary civilians. That scared the Korthans even more. Rilna whispered, "Commander. If these are civilians, what are their soldiers like?" No one had an answer. The humans guided the scouts through the trees. The forest grew darker, denser. Vakar expected a military base hidden somewhere. Strange weapons. Secret technology. But they came to a clearing instead. In the center stood a large metal structure. It hummed with power. Blue lights pulsed across its frame. It did not look like human technology. Not entirely. "What is this?" Vakar asked. The leader walked to the edge of the device and tapped the metal. "Something you should fear. But also, something you forced us to build." Vakar felt a chill run through him. "We forced you?" The man nodded. "Your empire wasn't the first to come here. Others tried before you. Some came in peace, some didn't. All of them learned something the hard way." He turned to face them fully. "Humans adapt. Humans learn fast. Humans fight hard. He pointed at the device. And when aliens push too far, humans create things that shouldn't exist. The device pulsed again, brighter this time. The air vibrated. Vakar felt the hair on his arms rise. You built a weapon? He asked quietly. The man gave a small, cold smile. We built a message. The trees around them went silent, as if the whole forest was waiting. Vakar realized the truth in that moment. Humans were not simple. Humans were not predictable. Humans were not safe to provoke. And whatever this message was, the Korthans were about to learn it the hard way. The device in the clearing grew brighter, its blue lights pulsing like a heartbeat. The ground under the Korthans' feet trembled softly. The humans stood calmly around it, as if the strange machine was nothing unusual. But to the aliens, it felt like standing beside something alive, and angry. Commander Vakar stepped forward. Explain what this machine does. If it is a weapon, we must know. The human leader touched the side of the device again. It's not a weapon. At least, not in the way you think. Rilna hissed, stop speaking in circles, human. The man looked at her with cool eyes. You're not ready for straight answers. Vakar raised a hand to silence Rilna. He knew pressing too hard was dangerous. Humans did not react like other species. They were calm until something snapped, and no one wanted to see what came after that snap. The device let out a deep hum. Pale light spread through the clearing, washing over the trees. Birds flew from their branches, startled. Even the humans stepped back a little. Vakar tried to scan the device with his wrist tool. The screen flashed red. Interference detected, he muttered. Our scanners cannot read it. The human leader nodded. Good, that means it works. What is it? Vakar asked again. The man finally answered. It detects intent. Vakar blinked. Intent? Yes. Aggression. Hostility. Plans to attack. It reads the mind. It senses the danger before it happens. Rilna stepped forward, anger flashing in her eyes. Mind-reading technology does not exist on this planet. The man shrugged. It didn't exist anywhere. Until aliens taught us we needed it. Vakar stared at the device. You built this to defend yourselves? To survive, the man corrected. Aliens came here thinking humans were weak. They tried to trick us. Slowly. Quietly. One lie at a time. So humans learned to stop waiting for danger to strike. He pointed at the machine. Now we see danger before it takes shape. The Korthans exchanged tense looks. If the device truly sensed intent, then it could read their mission. Their curiosity. Their fears. Maybe even the doubts they hid from one another. The light grew brighter, washing over them. Vakar felt something cold push into his mind. It was not pain, more like a presence looking through him. Searching. Turning his thoughts over like stones. The device pulsed faster. Then the human leader said, it's reacting. Vakar stepped back. Reacting to what? The man stared at him with sharp eyes. You tell me. The hum deepened, vibrating in Vakar's bones. The light turned red at the edges, flashing faster. Rilna whispered, Commander. It senses something in us. One of the humans spoke quietly, it always does. Aliens come here with greed, or curiosity, or fear. But it always finds something darker underneath. Vakar felt panic rising. Turn it off. Not yet, the human leader said. The light intensified. The air burned cold. Vakar felt the device searching deeper, pushing through layers of his mind. Memories flashed, training halls, council meetings, the faces of commanders who told him humans were simple creatures, easy to control. The device pulsed faster. Then he felt it touch something he had tried to ignore, the unspoken order he carried from the High Council. Observe humans. Evaluate their defenses. And consider weaknesses for future use. The machine reacted violently. A thunderous crack split the air. Red light exploded outward like a wave. The Korthans were thrown back, hitting the ground hard. The humans didn't move. The light passed straight through them. When Vakar lifted his head, the device had returned to its calm blue glow. The human leader looked down at him. Now you understand. Vakar struggled to his feet, shaken. Your device saw our mission's secondary goals. Correct, the man said. You plan to attack us if we ever acted on those goals? Vakar asked. The man's expression didn't change. We plan to act the moment you even thought about attacking us. Rilna pushed herself off the ground, fury in her eyes. Humans cannot dictate how the Korthan Empire thinks. The man stepped closer, his voice calm but edged with steel. Then don't think about invading us. Vakar looked at the device again. Fear prickled through his skin. Not fear of weapons. Not fear of soldiers. Fear of a species that built something impossible. Because they were pushed too many times. He took a shaky breath. You built this to stop wars before they start. To stop threats before they grow, the man corrected. Every species that tested our patience forced us to adapt. Vakar's voice trembled. And us? The man's eyes locked onto his. You came here lying. Hiding. Spying. You walked into our home thinking we were harmless. He paused. You are now a threat until you prove otherwise. The words hit hard. The clearing felt smaller. The humans seemed larger. Stronger. More dangerous. Vakar finally realized the truth every alien species learned too late. Humans weren't dangerous because they were violent. Humans were dangerous because they changed faster than any known species. And now the Korthans had triggered that change. The human leader turned away. Bring them inside. They need to see the rest. The device hummed behind them, silent but watching. And the Korthans understood the nightmare had only just begun. The humans led the Korthans away from the glowing device and toward the small building deeper in the forest. It looked simple from the outside, wooden walls, warm lights, quiet windows. But after what they had just seen, nothing on this planet felt simple anymore. Commander Vakar walked with stiff steps, still shaken by the device that had looked directly into his mind. Rilna stayed close behind him, her jaw tight, her eyes filled with silent fury. The other Korthans walked like shadows, unsure of every move. The human leader walked in front, calm as always. He did not look back at them. He did not need to. The Korthans knew they were being watched from all sides, even in the dark. When they reached the door, the man opened it and stepped inside. Vakar hesitated, glancing at his crew. Stay close. Do not act without my order. Rilna whispered, Commander. We should escape. These humans are unstable. They are prepared, Vakar replied softly. If we run, we die. Rilna did not argue. None of them did. They stepped inside. The room was warm. Too warm. A fire burned in a metal stove. Human tools lined the walls. A map hung above a wooden table. It was a map of Earth, every country marked, every border drawn. But what caught the Korthans' eyes were the objects on the table. Alien objects. A cracked piece of star metal from a species Vakar recognized. A shard of armor from a race known for violent conquests. A melted weapon core the size of a fist, and boxes filled with fragments of technology from all across the galaxy. The humans had fought aliens before. And won. The human leader touched one of the metal shards on the table. Every piece here has a story, he said. Vakar felt dread twist in his chest. You defeated all of them? They challenged us, the man answered. Some came to rule. Some came to study. Some pretended to come in peace while planning something else. But all of them underestimated us. He picked up the melted weapon core. This one belonged to a species twice your size. They thought they could scare us by landing near one of our cities. Rilna frowned. What happened to them? The man placed the core down gently. They learned humans adapt fast. They retreated in 2 days. They never came back. One of the other humans, shorter, with sharp eyes, spoke from the corner of the room. Most aliens don't understand us. They see our size. Our emotions. Our noise. They think it means weakness. He walked closer. But our fear turns into caution. Our caution turns into learning. And our learning turns into survival. The Korthans did not speak. The man lifted a new object from the table. A smooth cube with alien runes. Vakar recognized it immediately. Korthan tech, he whispered. How do you have that? The human leader tapped the cube. Because your empire wasn't the first Korthan group to try something on this planet. The room froze. Vakar's heart pounded. That is impossible. We have no record. Of course you don't, the man said. Because the ones who came before never returned. Rilna stepped forward, anger shaking her voice. You lie. The human turned and faced her. I don't need to lie. The truth is enough. He placed the cube back on the table. They came as explorers. But explorers don't bring plasma cutters. Or nerve disruptors, or stealth transmitters. Vakar's breath caught. Those were tools for silent invasion teams. The same tools his own mission carried. The man continued, they tested our defenses. They tried to capture a human patrol. It didn't end well, for them. He moved to a shelf and pulled down a sealed metal box. He opened it. Inside lay a Korthan arm guard, burned, cracked, and marked by scorched lines. Vakar felt sick. This was no trick. The metal was real. The marks were real. And the shape was unmistakably Korthan. Rilna's voice shook. What? What happened to them? They gave humans their first warning, the man said quietly. We gave our first warning back. He closed the box gently. After that, we stopped giving second warnings. Vakar's mind spun. His empire believed humans were primitive. Slow thinkers. Easy to manipulate. But these humans had dealt with Korthans before, and survived. They had beaten species far stronger. And they kept trophies, not out of pride, but out of preparation. Then the human leader said something that cut through the silence like a blade. You want to know why we brought you here? Because your mission was doomed the moment your ship entered our sky. He faced them fully. You didn't come to learn about us. You came to measure us. And humans do not allow that anymore. Vakar lowered his head. What will you do to us? The man studied him. That depends. On what? Vakar asked quietly. On whether you understand the message. Or whether the device outside decides you're still a threat. The fire crackled. The room felt smaller. The shadows felt sharper. Rilna whispered, Commander, we must warn the Empire. Vakar knew she was right. But he also knew they might never leave this place alive. The human leader stepped toward the door. There is one more thing you need to see. The door swung open, letting in the cold night air, and the Korthans realized the humans were not finished with them yet. The humans led the Korthans back outside. The air was colder now, and the sky had grown darker. Clouds covered the moon, and the forest felt heavier than before. The device in the clearing still hummed softly, glowing like a quiet heartbeat in the night. Commander Vakar walked slowly, his mind full of fear and confusion. He had expected humans to be loud, chaotic, simple-minded. Instead, they were calm, prepared, and frighteningly aware of everything around them. Rilna stayed close to him. Her anger had faded, replaced by something sharper, worry. They are hiding something, she whispered. Something worse than that machine. Vakar did not need convincing. The way the humans moved, the silence between them, the things they whispered to each other, they all suggested a deeper plan. A heavier secret. The human leader stopped near the edge of the clearing. He turned, his eyes steady and unreadable. What you are about to see, he said, is the real reason no alien invasion succeeded here. He raised a small device to his mouth and spoke into it. Bring it in. Vakar frowned. Bring what in? The forest seemed empty, the night quiet. Then a low rumble echoed through the trees. Soft at first. Growing louder. Heavier. Vibrations moved through the ground. The Korthans stiffened. Rilna whispered, something large is coming. Branches snapped. A tree's trunk shook violently. And then something stepped into view. A machine, towering above them, taller than the trees. A massive exo frame, made of steel and dark armor plates. Thick legs. Heavy arms. A cockpit in the center, glowing with dim lights. It looked like a walking fortress. Human-made. The Korthans staggered backward. Rilna gasped. You built war walkers? The human leader did not smile. Only after someone forced our hand. The giant machine stopped beside him. Its steps shook the earth, but it moved with strange balance, as if it was meant to fight in forest terrain. Light scanned the Korthans, sweeping across their armor and faces. One of the humans stepped up to the machine and tapped the metal. We don't build these to attack other worlds. We build them so we never have to. The leader continued, aliens kept testing us. Probing our borders. Sending scouts who thought humans were soft targets. His eyes found Vakar. You came here assuming the same. Vakar felt a sharp pain in his chest, not physical pain, but the painful realization of how wrong his leaders had been. We thought humans were unorganized, Vakar admitted quietly. Too busy fighting each other. Too emotional. That's our trick, the man replied. Humans argue. Humans clash. Humans divide. But when something threatens all of us. His expression hardened. We become something else. The giant machine lowered slightly, almost like a bow. A signal. A warning. A promise. Rilna swallowed. How many of these do you have? The human looked at her calmly. Enough. The simplicity of the answer frightened her more than a number ever could. The Korthans stared at the towering machine. It wasn't the size that scared them, it was the design. Every joint reinforced. Every plate angled to deflect energy blasts. Sensors placed in ways that suggested long-range combat and close quarters. It was a machine built from experience. Built after battles with aliens. Built by a species that learned fast. Humans built these. Because of us? Vakar whispered. Because of all who tried to break us, the man corrected. Every species that came here left behind a piece of knowledge. And humans use everything. The exoframe's cockpit opened, and a human climbed out. She wore simple clothes, not military gear, not armor. Yet she had controlled a machine powerful enough to destroy entire squads. Vakar felt the blood drain from his face. They let civilians pilot them. The human leader nodded. We train anyone who wants to learn. Humans do not rely on soldiers alone. If our world is threatened, everyone becomes a defender. Vakar stared at the forest around them. At the trees. At the shadows. And suddenly he understood. The humans hadn't hidden a military base here. The whole forest was a defense zone. Silent traps. Sensors. Civilian fighters. War walkers hidden between the trees. And a device that could read intent. This was not weakness. This was evolution under pressure. The man stepped forward. Now you know why none of you ever returned home. Vakar looked at him, voice shaking. What will you do to us? That depends on your next decision, the man said. You came here to gather information for your empire. To judge us. To measure possible weaknesses. And your device outside already sensed aggression in your minds. Rilna clenched her fists. We can change that. We can withdraw. We can tell our empire not to come back. That is not enough, the man replied. We need a guarantee. Vakar's voice cracked slightly. What guarantee? The giant machine's lights glowed brighter, aiming directly at the Korthans. The human leader spoke clearly. That your empire understands this message. He paused. Humans don't give second warnings. The forest went silent again. The Korthans knew the next words from them could decide their fate. Or their end. Commander Vakar stared up at the massive war walker as its lights fixed on the Korthans like an unblinking eye. The forest around them felt tighter, the air colder. Every instinct in his body screamed to run, yet he could not lift a foot. The humans stood calmly beside the machine, hands steady, faces firm. They did not need to shout. Their silence screamed enough. Rilna looked at Vakar, her voice trembling. Commander. If we fail to convince them, we will die here. Vakar already knew that. The human leader's patience was not endless, and the more the device sensed from them, the less time they had. The human leader took a step forward. Your empire must understand something very clearly. We do not seek war. But we will not allow threats near our home. Vakar swallowed hard. If you let us return, we will carry your message. We will tell them everything. The human's eyes narrowed. You say that now. But when you stand before your leaders, will they listen? Or will they erase your fear and send another team? Rilna opened her mouth to argue, but the human raised a hand, stopping her instantly. You want to know why we don't trust your empire? He said. Because the last Korthan team said the same thing. Vakar froze. What do you mean? They begged. They promised. They said they would warn their empire never to interfere again. His voice grew colder. And 3 months later, your empire sent another scout group. Stealthier. Better armed. Rilna stepped back as if struck. That cannot be true. The High Council never. They lied to you, the human cut in. Just like they lie to every species they want to study or control. Vakar's breath shook. The thought crawled through his mind like poison. It made sense. Too much sense. The High Council had always dismissed human reports. Always described Earth as primitive and weak. Always insisted previous missions had simply vanished due to technical failure. He had believed them. He had been a fool. The human leader nodded at his expression. Now you see. And this is why we do not take chances anymore. The war walker's arm moved slightly, aiming downward. Not firing, but ready. Vakar lifted both hands slowly. What do you want from us? A vow? A promise? We will give it. The leader shook his head. Words mean nothing. He looked up at the war walker. A faint red light blinked at the top. Show them, he said softly. The machine emitted a low hum. A holographic projection flickered to life above it. The Korthan's hearts dropped. It showed a map. Not of Earth. But of the Korthan Empire. Territories. Borders. Military hubs. Scouting routes. All marked in human symbols. Rilna gasped, how did you get this? The human leader pointed to the pieces of alien tech back in the cabin. Every hostile species that came here brought something we could study. That includes your old crews. Humans learn faster than your empire expects. The hologram shifted, zooming in. It highlighted Korthan military patrol routes, even secret ones. Even Vakar did not know some of these paths. You, he whispered, you know our weaknesses. The human nodded once. We do. Because it was safer that way. Rielna shook her head in disbelief. You cannot defeat the Empire. It spans dozens of worlds. The human shrugged. Maybe. Maybe not. But we can make the cost so high your leaders would be fools to try. A chilling truth settled between them. Humans didn't claim they would win. They didn't boast. They simply stated they would make invasion impossible. Vakar drew a slow, shaking breath. So what must we do? For starters, the human said, your empire needs to know humans are not prey. And we expect no more scouts, soldiers, or explorers ever again. Vakar nodded quickly. We will deliver that message. The leader studied him for a long, deep moment. The exo-frame's lights dimmed slightly, but the threat did not fade. You will deliver it, the man said, but not as spies. Not as soldiers. His voice sharpened. You will deliver it as survivors. Because your empire will believe fear, not reports. Vakar felt his throat tighten. You mean to let us go? The man nodded. Yes. But not yet, there is one more thing. Rielna tensed. What more do you want from us? The human pointed to the glowing device in the clearing. The one that read intent. It showed us something, he said. One of you still hides a plan. The Korthans froze. Vakar whipped his head toward his crew. Who? The human stood silently, waiting. Rielna's eyes widened as she looked from face to face, and then fear flashed in her gaze. Commander. It's Drek. Look at him. Drek, the youngest of the scouts, stood rigid, his jaw clenched, his eyes darting between the humans and the ship hidden in the forest. Vakar stared in disbelief. Drek. What have you done? Drek finally spoke, voice low and tight. If the Empire learns we surrendered to humans, they will brand us traitors. They will hunt our families, Commander. I cannot let that happen. His hand drifted toward the small emergency beacon on his belt. Vakar's eyes widened. Drek, don't. But the humans had already moved. The humans always moved first. 3 shadows dropped from the trees. A hand snatched the beacon. Another pushed Drek to the ground. A third held a weapon near his head. The entire move took less than a second. The human leader shook his head slowly. This is exactly why we cannot let you leave without proving yourselves. Vakar felt the weight of doom settle on him again. The human leader turned back to him. In Part 7, he said quietly, you will make your choice. The War Walker loomed behind him, silent and waiting. And the Korthans understood. The final test had begun. Drek lay on the ground with 3 humans holding him down. His eyes were wide with fear, but also with something darker, desperation. Commander Vakar felt that desperation like a knife against his throat. Drek had not acted out of malice. He had acted out of terror. Terror of humans. Terror of his own empire. The human leader stepped toward them slowly. No anger in his voice, no shouting. Just that same terrifying calm that made every Korthan feel small. Do you understand now? He asked Vakar. This is what happens when trust is broken. Fear makes your people dangerous. Vakar lowered his head. I will take responsibility for him. He acted on instinct. The man shook his head. Instincts kill. Your empire sends scouts who act on instinct all the time. That is why we cannot let you leave without proving your intentions. Rielna stepped toward him. Then tell us the test. We will face it. The humans exchanged quiet looks. The forest wind whistled through the trees. Finally, the leader pointed toward the glowing device in the clearing. The machine that reads intent, it is not perfect. It only reads what you hide in your heart. Your true purpose. Your fears. He paused. So each of you will stand before it. Alone. The Korthans froze. Alone. In front of a device that could expose their secrets, their doubts, their hidden orders. Vakar's heart pounded. What happens if it senses something hostile in one of us? The human did not answer immediately. Instead, he looked toward the War Walker behind him. The giant machine shifted its weight, metal groaning softly. Vakar understood. If anyone failed the test, they would not survive. Drek trembled on the ground. Commander, I didn't mean. Vakar silenced him with a raised hand. He stepped forward. I will go first. The humans nodded. The device glowed a soft blue as Vakar approached. The light spread across the ground in a perfect circle. The air vibrated as he stepped into the center. He felt the pressure immediately, like invisible fingers pushing into his mind. He stood tall. He did not fight it. He let it read him. The device searched his memories, his training, his loyalty to the Empire, his original mission, his fear of humans. And his new understanding. He had come as a spy. But he stood now as something else. A survivor. A witness. A changed being. The device hummed. The light around him shifted from blue to white. Then it faded. The human leader nodded. You may leave the circle. Vakar stepped out, breath shaky with relief. Rilna squeezed his arm. I knew you would pass. But her own fear showed in her eyes. She was next. She approached the device with her chin lifted. She walked into the light without hesitation. But as the machine probed her thoughts, she trembled. She had been loudest about Korthan's superiority. She had believed humans were primitive. She had believed the Empire deserved to rule weaker worlds. The device pulsed. Rilna shut her eyes. I am not that person anymore, she whispered. The machine pushed deeper. Rilna's breath shook. Then, slowly, the blue glow turned white. The machine calmed. She staggered back, tears in her eyes. I passed, she whispered in disbelief. The third scout went next. Then the fourth. Each walked in trembling. Each came out changed but safe. Only one remained. Drek. He stood with shaking legs. Commander. I can't. The machine will see everything. My fear. My anger. My doubt. Vakar put a hand on his shoulder. Drek. The machine does not punish fear. Humans fear too. They told us this. What it punishes is what we choose to do with fear. Drek's eyes filled with tears. But I almost doomed us all. The human leader stepped forward. And you did not do it alone. Your empire built that fear in you. So if you want a future, stand there and show us you can rise above it. Drek swallowed. Then, slowly, he stepped into the glowing circle. The device reacted instantly. Red light flared at the edges. The Korthans tensed. The war walker raised an arm, sensors locking onto Drek. Vakar shouted, wait. Give him a chance. The humans did not move. The device pushed into Drek's mind. His fear exploded through him, fear of punishment, fear of humans, fear of failure. The light built around him like pressure. Drek dropped to his knees. Please. Please. I don't want to die. The red deepened. Vakar's heart pounded. Then Drek whispered something so soft only the device truly heard. I don't want to be a tool of the Empire anymore. The machine froze. The red light flickered. The pressure softened. Then, slowly, the color shifted. White. The humans lowered their weapons. The war walker powered down. Drek broke into sobs, collapsing onto the ground. Rilna rushed to him, pulling him close. The human leader approached Vakar. Your team passed. All of you. Vakar bowed his head. What happens now? You go home, the man said. You tell your empire the truth. You tell them what humans are. What humans became. And you warn them that we will not tolerate another intrusion. Vakar nodded. I swear it. The human stepped aside. Your ship is free to leave. You will be escorted to it. The Korthans began walking through the forest, guided by the silent humans. At the edge of the trees, Vakar looked back. The war walker stood tall in the clearing. The humans stood like shadows in the dark. And the device glowed softly, watching. As the Korthans boarded their ship, Vakar understood the final message completely. Humans were not the strongest species in the galaxy. They were the most determined. The most adaptable. The most unwilling to fall. And when pushed too far. Humans don't give second warnings. The ship rose into the sky, leaving Earth behind. But none of the Korthans felt relieved. Because they knew their empire would soon learn the most terrifying truth in the galaxy. Humans were ready. For anything. The Korthan scout ship climbed through Earth's atmosphere, shaking as it broke free into open space. Inside the command room, everything was silent. No one spoke. No one moved. The experience on Earth stayed in their minds like a heavy shadow. Not even the stars outside the windows felt comforting. Commander Vakar sat in the main seat, staring ahead but not really seeing anything. His heart still raced. His hands still shook. Not from fear of death, he had faced that many times. It was something deeper. A fear for the future. Rilna sat beside him, stiff and quiet. Drek was strapped into a rear seat, eyes red from crying but finally calm. The other scouts watched the screens, pretending to be busy, though their thoughts were clearly far away. When they reached orbit, the ship's sensors blinked. They had a message. A long-range transmission from the Korthan Empire. Rilna read the signal aloud. High Council requests immediate report. No delays. No excuses. The words made several scouts flinch. Vakar let out a slow breath. They expected us by now. If we tell them the truth, they will not believe us. They will call us liars, Rilna added. Or worse. Traitors. Drek raised his head. We can't lie to them either. If the Empire sends another team, they will die, Vakar finished for him. Silence filled the ship again. The Korthans were trapped between two dangers, their own Empire and humans. The console beeped. The Empire sent another message. Shorter. Sharper. Report now. Vakar straightened his shoulders. Open a channel. I will speak. The screen flickered. The image of the High Council chamber appeared, tall stone walls, banners of the Empire, and 3 council members seated in their raised chairs. Their faces looked strict, cold, and impatient. Commander Vakar, the center counselor said, voice thin and metallic, your report is late. Explain. Vakar swallowed hard. We discovered something unexpected. Unexpected? The counselor repeated. Earth is a primitive world. Nothing there should surprise you. Vakar felt a sting inside his chest. That belief is exactly why we almost died. He forced his voice steady. Counselors. Humans are not what we believed. Laughter echoed from one side of the chamber. Not what we believed? Commander, they are weak. No space travel. No advanced weapons. Realna stepped forward sharply. They have weapons. Many. And knowledge taken from other species. A council member frowned. Explain. Vakar said, humans are not weak. They are dangerous. Adaptive. They learn too quickly. They have defeated several alien groups before us. Including our own earlier missions. The council chamber went silent. Then, anger. That is a lie, one counselor snapped. No Korthan mission has ever returned from Earth. Your claim is impossible. Realna hissed, impossible? Then explain this. She lifted the burned Korthan armguard the humans had returned to them. The metal was scorched, twisted, and clearly real. The counselors leaned forward, eyes narrowing. That could be fake, one said. How do you know humans did not forge it to scare you? Another added. Vakar shook his head. Humans do not need to lie. Their strength is real. Their machines are real. Their defenses are real. If you send another team, they will not return. The counselors exchanged angry looks. You sound frightened, Commander, the center counselor said coldly. Have these primitive creatures broken your spirit so easily? Drek suddenly stepped forward, surprising everyone. They broke nothing, he said. We passed their test. We survived. And now we understand the truth, humans are not a target. They are a warning. The council chamber erupted again. Test? What test? What nonsense are you speaking? They tested our intent, Vakar explained. They built a machine that reads thoughts. It senses aggression. If even one of us had planned harm, we would have died. The counselors fell into stunned silence. They had never heard of such technology, not even the strongest empires possessed something like that. Finally, the center counselor leaned forward. Commander Vakar. You will return to the capital immediately. We will examine your minds ourselves. Realna stiffened. You do not trust our words? We trust nothing without evidence, the counselor replied. Your crew may have been manipulated by a human trick. Vakar's voice hardened. Counselors, if you test us by force, if you break into our minds, it will only prove humans were right about you. The entire chamber froze. No one had ever spoken to the High Council like that. The center counselor's eyes narrowed to thin slits. Commander. Your tone is dangerously close to rebellion. Drek whispered, Commander. We must be careful. Vakar raised his chin. I do not rebel. I report the truth. You asked for the status of Earth. This is the truth, humans are not to be touched. The counselors looked furious. One growled, we will send a fleet. A large one. We will crush this primitive world before it becomes a threat. Vakar's blood turned to ice. They will destroy you, he whispered. Their machines. Their unity. Their adaptability. You cannot imagine how far they will go to protect themselves. Another counselor slammed a fist down. We are the Korthan Empire. No inferior species tells us what we may or may not do. Vakar felt despair claw at him. They warned us, he said quietly. If you attack them, you will lose. The counselors cut the channel without another word. The screen went black. Vakar sank into his chair. Realna whispered shakily, what will they do? Vakar answered without hesitation. They will send a fleet. And humans? Drek asked softly. Vakar stared out the window, toward the small blue planet growing smaller behind them. They will be ready, he said, more ready than the Empire can imagine. The ship flew into deep space, carrying a warning that no one wanted to hear. and the first spark of a coming war no one could stop.